stare at the ceiling. They go, well, what if I can't sleep? If I can't sleep, I'll never be able to go to sleep. Never, 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 never. Okay, well, that's a really good thing if you want to stay awake, but there's a way to be relaxed. It sucks. So what did I do when people came? They sent me some insomniacs from the Institute of Sleeping Disorder. Not a good name. Some of the names I actually went to a place called the Center for Mental Retardation. Like we need to have a place that retards you. That to me, that you know, people need to start taking. People give me their card and it says on it, alcoholic counselor. And I always say, you know, you can get help for that. And they always go, no, that's not what it means. It means I work with alcoholics. And I said, well, you didn't say that. It says you're drunk when you're counseling. You know, it's very good to say what you mean. You know, the Center for Pain Control, who wants to control their pain? I want it to go away. You know, they should have the Center for the Absence of Suffering. That strikes me as a much better name. The idea that, see, I mean, to me, you have to understand, words all have power, and so do these techniques. But what makes them really work is that when you add to it the fact that everything about you influences the process. I think what people forget about NLP is that when I wrote the book, The Structure of Magic, okay, a lot of people came up to me and they said, Jesus, you'll never believe what happened. And I said, I'll believe anything. I'm easy. And they said, well, I found your book in the occult section. And I go, yeah? Isn't that where it belongs? And they said, no, your book is about psychology, and it's not. What we tried to do when John and I started out originally, we wanted to take things which were magical and find out the structure of them so that people could install it inside their work and become more magical. We never said that that was all there was, and we never said that you shouldn't put it back in your unconscious. We just said it was a way of restructuring your unconscious so that you could become more skilled and therefore more magical. Because I don't want people to become I read some of these things. I was even looking at the videotapes. Nothing personal against the videotape guys, but I find it hard to believe that Judith Deloge put out a thing about modeling. I mean, I know Judith, but I haven't seen her in 10 years. Maybe she's learned about modeling. But, you know, I mean, Judith does lots and lots of interesting things, but I can't imagine her going in and being that structured, that, you know, that whatever the course is about. I mean, Judith's greatest quality, I think, was her sense of humor. I think if Judith made tapes, she'd be better off making tapes about having humor than she would be about that. I could see Robert Dilts talking about modeling because Robert loves to draw diagrams. I mean, you know, you give Robert a box of chalk and 12 blackboards and he's a happy boy, you know. But you see, what I'm about is about something different. I'm about trying to be able to get you to use everything. To me, I'm not looking to get you to understand what you're doing. I'm trying to get you to do it better. See, the reason I started this thing out by getting you to change the way you felt and to realize how much the way you feel influences other people. I mean, think about how many psychiatrists really trance out when they're working, and because they work long hours and they have people coming in for 50 minutes and telling them the same bullshit over and over and over again, so they could just kind of go into daydreams and trance out. That's no different than what I do when I put myself in a trance, except I know I'm doing it. You see, if they trance out people and then start asking questions all have presuppositions. Questions are a way of slicing this away from that. That's what questions do. So I ask you questions like, and why do you feel this way? It presupposes that there is a reason. And there may or may not be. It may just be a habit. I mean, to me, see, I always presuppose in all of my language that people are going to feel things for the last time. Say, as soon as I start saying, now, I want you to go inside and remember that unpleasant experience for the last time. I come right out and say it. And people go, okay. But they've accepted that presupposition. That's Richard 1, client 0. Okay? And I'm going to stack as many points in my column as I can, because after all, I'm the one that's acting in their best interest. I'm not trying to not influence them. I'm trying every way possible under the sun to have an impact on them. And that starts with how you feel. The same technique that I just used here with this guy is not going to work if I don't believe it. It's the fact that I believe he can change, that he can change quickly and easily. I exude that, and I spin it inside me. I'm so convinced they never doubt it. Because if people doubt what you're doing, if they do it half-assed rather than doing it with their whole heart, you guys saw how deep a trance he was in. You saw, you know, it may have been a little hard on the shoulders, but the fingers were doing just fine, you know. And I have to admit, I cheat a little bit. I get tired of waiting. If fingers take too long, I'll bump them in the elbow. It's okay with me. I never said that it was them that was going to move their hands. But as long as the presupposition is there and the moment it touches, I see that change on their face. Otherwise, I'll keep going. Because if you happen to see, the clients don't know when you're going to stop. And I don't stop. I'm very, very relentless. And I make sure that I spin enough good feelings inside me and enough deep trancey feelings that by the time they sit down, I'm 3/4 of the way there. So, because I want you guys to try an exercise. And, you know, and I don't know what time you're on. I adjusted my watch. I'm now on the time that the clocks are here, I think. I like that. People look at that. And I don't, okay, I'm at 11:45. How about you guys? Are you guys at 11:45? Okay, I'm now at 11:45. I decided this stuff was getting too confusing. You know, I love that. Time moves ahead, and this time of year, time moves backwards. That's why I thought, well, we'll move times backwards and change the past. But you see, we changed the past by making it go backwards. Say, you know, it seemed like the appropriate time of the year to do it. If time, you know, if time is spring forward and fall back. I like that. Works for me. Spring forward, fall back. And if you're going to fall back on your memories, but you see, what I want you to do is to grab a partner. We all have things in our past that bother us. Now, here's a chance to practice. Now, but I don't want you to do anything but remember the past 2 days. We worked on creating an altered state inside of ourselves, where the first thing we did is spin relaxation, and then we spun good feelings, then we spun 4 good feelings. Now, if you take all of those good feelings you had and all of that tranciness, and you sit down with your partner, what I want you to do is step number 1, before you knock them out, make them think about 2 things. First, have them stop and think about what memory gets in their way. Think about it. 7,000 bad feelings you can get rid of in less than 2 minutes. Now, to me, that's productivity. Now, if you can generalize that to other bad feelings, for example, sir, I'm sorry, I forgot your name. What's your name? Sven, right. Sven, there are other things you feel bad about too, aren't there? I beg your pardon? Well, you know, if you feel bad about one thing, my guess is you feel bad about other things. Stop and think about one now. Spooky, huh? Well, this is the trick, because all that talk I did while Sten was sitting there like this about generalizing learnings wasn't an accident. That's called post-hypnotic suggestion, because people won't extend learnings unless you tell them to. So I told him that his unconscious could consider all the other things that he maybe felt bad about. Because now maybe not only are we going to knock out 7,000 good feelings, maybe we're going to knock out 70,000 good feelings. Now think about it. If in the next 20 years we knock out 7,000 times he's going to feel bad, that's a lot. But if we knock out 70,000 times he's going to feel bad, what does that translate in terms of opportunities to feel good and to get things done? That was convenient. Did that come from the inside of my head or the outside of the room? Doesn't matter. Now, what I want you to do is when you sit down, I want you to consider that this is really what we're up to. What we're up to is making, you shouldn't do that. Jesus Christ, you're licking somebody's butt. Doesn't that bother you? God almighty. Just think, you know, that everybody in this room got up this morning and took a shit, right? And then they put their hands on the railing of the stairway coming up, and when you walked up, you touched that railing. And now you're sucking on their butts. It's 70 butts all at once. You know, and some of them had diarrhea and shit. Just to think about it, you know, and you're going, yes, yum, tasty. You know, there isn't any anthrax there, is there? You know, because I got this letter this morning with the white powder in it, you know, and so I just put it on the railing coming up, you know. And you're going, shit and anthrax, yum. Just a thought. That will annoy and bother you for years to come. Or else you can just, you know, not bite your fingernails. That's a choice. But, you know, because all that stuff gets stuck under your fingernails. Because, you know, actually under my fingernail now is shit from today and shit from yesterday and some shit from a week ago. Just totally old moldy shit, you know. And, you know, and all kinds of, and then there are people who sneeze like that and touch the railing. So there's all kinds of snot on there too. So when you put your fingernails up towards your face, you have to go, boy, that's a snot shit, isn't it? You know. Just a thought, you know. We'll anchor this. You know, it's how I do acupuncture. I needle people. People say, how do you work with habits? Over and over again. You know, I just fill out the drill and go. But that's another story. We'll get back to that. This guy goes, oh God, my head is falling off. It's okay. You're just losing bad beliefs. That's okay. When you drop your bad beliefs, don't worry about them. They'll get stuck under his fingernails. See, the trick here is that what I want you to do is I want you to realize that once you have people think about what it is they feel bad about, just pick one thing. What we're going set out by doing is seeing if we can knock away 70,000 bad feelings and replace them with new ideas about the future. Because this is what real opportunity is about. So what I want you to do is once they think about one thing that they repeatedly feel bad about, okay, and then tell them in a moment you're going to have them think about it, and you want them to start at the end of the movie so they see the last thing that happened and the last time that this actually occurred in the real world, and then you want them to run it all the way backwards. People walking backwards, talking backwards, right? All the way to the beginning, and then attach the beginning to the end so it runs backwards like a movie loop. And then run it faster and faster and faster and faster till it blurs. Now, at the moment it blurs, what we're going to do is open up a picture in which they see themselves doing something better with all that time. Wouldn't you rather be more confident? Wouldn't you rather be more creative? Wouldn't you rather be more alert? Think of how many orgasms you could have in 70,000 bad experience times. That's how much does that translate into real world times? That's a shitload of how much time do you spend doing it? 2 or 3 minutes? You know, that translates into something like 10,000 hours of orgasms you could be having. You know, but you're too busy going, oh, shit, man, when I was 5 years old, somebody took my train. You know, I'm sorry, but it just doesn't seem like a good deal. 10,000 hours of orgasm or the bad train. I don't know about you guys, but I weigh those out. It's an easy decision for me. You know, it's like I look at my fingernails and go, no thanks. That's why I have fingernail clippers. I go, and then I leave them on the floor like little bombs. And, you know, sometimes what I do is I insert them in pieces of candy and I give them to people I don't like. They go, oh, crunchy, and I go, yeah. But I'm a pretty devious person when it comes down to it. Now, when you sit down with a person, once they have the idea of what they're going to run backwards, then what I want you to do is that at the moment they have a good idea, because you go, do you have the idea? And they go, yeah. Then you look at them. I want you immediately to begin rolling the most relaxing sensation you can. Literally look them in the eye and just start prancing. And as you do, then that's what you do is tell them to hold up their fingers and to look between them. But they should be well on the way by that point. And to look at the space between their fingers, and as their fingers get closer, they're going to become more and more relaxed, and to realize that now and then just say, close your eyes. If they don't close their eyes, just move your hand in front of their face. They will. Right? And if they don't, then yell at them. Shut your eyes, goddammit. I find that's highly effective. You know? Either that or I use the Three Stooges techniques. I go, that works too. When they close their eyes, then you tell them their fingers are going to get closer only at the rate and speed now that they begin to spin this image in their mind, so that they start at the end of what's bad and work towards the beginning. Because even though it's exactly the same images that made them feel bad, in reverse it won't. It doesn't mean the same thing. War movies become peace movies. Instead of blowing things up, they take burning buildings and suck them up into pellets, pull them back into battleships, sail the ships back to the original ports where they can't hurt anybody. I mean, to me, that once you understand that the trick about re-anchoring things is to have the same thing out there and feel differently about it. So that if you walk by a store and you see a train in there, rather than going, "Arr," suddenly you look at it and go, train. Because that's all you really have to do. You don't have to go back through your past and feel bad about everything that happened. You could be having 10,000 kinds of orgasms, music-gasms, art-gasms, friendship-gasms, movie-gasms, jewelry-gasms, shoe-gasms, purse-gasms, dress-gasms, creativity-gasms, client-gasms. All of these things are possible. So once you trance them, once you do that, the moment that you do that, I want you to turn around and start spinning in good feelings. Because whether their eyes are open, here's the miracle. It will change them. If you feel different, it will change the way people feel around you. This has been proved scientifically with yogurt. And yogurt is not usually, I'm not making this up. I wouldn't lie to you, not me. But they did experiments years ago, and I found these experiments to be amongst the most important. They took a yogurt culture, they divided it in half, they put electrical stimulus response receptors on half of it, and the other half they fed milk to. The moment they fed milk to this half responded instantaneously and went wild. It basically was a yogurt's way of saying, where's the fucking milk? Now, they tried separating them really far apart, and the yogurt still knew the other yogurt was being fed. They put a steel wall between them. The yogurt still knew the yogurt was being fed. They put electromagnetic fields between them. The yogurt still knew the yogurt was being fed. They put them at opposite ends of the linear accelerator at Stanford, and the yogurt still knew the yogurt was being fed. They called me in and they said, Dr. Bandler, can you explain why this is happening? And I said, yes. And they were shocked. They said, no scientist has been able to explain this phenomenon. And I said, it's really quite simple. Yogurt knows yogurt. And I said, you want to see the formal proof of this? I said, give me the milk. And I took the milk and I drank it, and the yogurt didn't know it. How about that? The scientists looked at me and they said, well, this proves nothing. And I said, you're wrong. It proves that if I can pour the milk in the yogurt and it knows, and I drink the milk and it doesn't know, it proves it knows about yogurt, but it doesn't know about me. Now, here's the trick. That also means that other life forms, the same thing is true. That means if I'm vibrating happiness, the other people around me are going to know it. And if you can maintain it in spite of the fact that a pessimist is in the room, whether they admit it or not, it will influence them. Especially if you not just spin it in yourself, make the loop big enough that it goes through them. Because we don't know what goes on psychically. We don't know what goes on in terms of energy fields. We don't know how magnets work. We don't know how meridians work. We know what we can do with electricity, but we don't know how it works. We don't know how photons work. We don't know shit. So for scientists to say they've got a handle on this thing, especially using the scientific method. Jiminy Cricket, do you know what the scientific method is? This is where you propose that something is the case, and the way you prove it is the case by thinking what wouldn't be the case if you were wrong. Then you set about proving that what would be the case if you were wrong is true. It's called the null set hypothesis. And then you study it with double-blind studies, which means you lie to yourself and someone else about what it is that you're doing in order to prove that something is true, which would mean that you were wrong about what you believe. And you wonder why scientists are fucking confused? Jiminy cricket, it's no wonder most of them hide in buildings and are schizophrenic. I mean, it makes perfect sense to me. Now, on the other hand, I use a much simpler approach. I believe my senses. And I believe when you repeat things with your senses, then you can influence them. And I found out that what I'm teaching you about has worked not just with you, but with thousands and thousands and thousands of people. And those people write me letters all the time about how they've been successful with clients they couldn't do anything about. I get postcards from people hanging off the Grand Canyon who read Frogs into Princes and got rid of a phobia after being in therapy for 16 years. And they'd say, for $8.95, my problem is gone. I was afraid of heights. I'm hanging off the edge of the Grand Canyon writing you a postcard. Why does it work? Because it does. Period. I don't know any more than that, and I don't think we need to know any more than that. We don't know why magnets work, but you know, if you have a magnetic screwdriver, when that little screw drops down and you can't find it, you can stick it in there and get it out. We don't know why, but you still get the screw out. This is the point that matters. If I can free up more of his future so he can fill it with good things, I'm not going to take the chance because he might fill it with bad things. That's why it's so important for you to spin good things and then take this blurry thing and then in the middle of it open up something wonderful and spin it in the right direction. So the things you don't want to feel bad about, you spin backwards, and the things you want in your future, you spin forwards and slow down and make them clear and concise. Do you understand? Say, yes, Richard. Not Richard. Say, yes, Richard. No. Okay. So I want you to go and take about 10 minutes apiece and do this to each other and meet me right back here. No more. Yeah, sure. Anyway, so how did you guys do? Very fast? Yeah. Bang. Well, now, but see, if you begin to consider, okay, because we're going to get to this afternoon about how you start sticking in all kinds of new wonderful things. But you see, if you consider the amount of just raw time that this opens up for people, because people spend so much time worrying about the past. And then it turns around, they begin to then predict for themselves bad futures. Just like the insomniac starts to tell themselves they're not going to sleep and they're going to be tired. If they spent the same amount of time telling themselves good things, then good things would begin to, excuse me. And one of the good things that's going to happen to you is that you're going to get to go to lunch. But I also heard rumors that they're going to sell books outside. Is that true? Yeah, it is. It's is he set up out there? Oh, so he's all set up out there. So you guys can, now there's lots of books that I know he has. There's some books I don't approve of. Okay, and I'm sorry if he brought them, but I wrote a book called Reframing. Okay? If you're going to buy one of the books, don't buy that one. It's a junk. Okay? I'm sorry, when I wrote that at that time for a specific reason, which no longer applies. So most of the stuff that's in there is really not that applicable. That what we're doing here is you know, Frogs into Princes is always fun to read. Using Your Brain for a Change, always fun to read. Time for Change, lots of good techniques. And then I don't know if you did, but sometimes they bring books by other people. And some of them are good, and then some of them are just raw plagiarism. I would try to avoid those. We don't want to encourage people to steal. And to me, that, like, you know, if any of you see Joseph O'Connor, kick him in the teeth for me. And remind him that when you take other people's ideas, you're supposed to give them credit for it. That to me, that, you know, that one of the things is I've always given people permission to use my material if they ask for it. When they don't ask for it, then they are asking for it. But there's lots and lots of books written by lots of people about lots of things. I also want to recommend to you, too, that you start reading about other things other than NLP. I think some people in the NLP field read too much NLP and not enough about science. Chemistry will teach you as much about people as anything. Chemistry is really all about how you put things together and take them apart. All the formulas that work in chemistry can be translated over to experience. A lot of the techniques that I teach people are founded in the equations that come from architecture, because they build things that last forever, and I want to build things that last forever as well. I want this guy down here to start feeling good all the time for no reason. You know, and start being happy and start having that big, see, look at that grin on his face. Doesn't he look better? See, I want all you guys to look that. What? I beg your pardon? Oh, none whatsoever. But you see, it's the law. It is verboten to feel bad. That's my big German word I learned. Policeman taught it to me. He told me it is a verboten to walk on the grass in front of the Rathaus. I love that word, Rathaus. So I tell you what I want to do. I want to take, again, let's take, let's see, it's 12:30. Let's see, that would be 1. So be back at, what would that be, 2:15? 2:15, that's a nice time. So come back here at 2:15, have a nice lunch, and get some oxygen, get some food, and who knows, you may find that suddenly when you think about other things that made you feel bad, the machine that you installed inside your mind might start running around rampantly, stamping out all your bad feelings. Because you see, the most important thing that you learned to do was to build a machine. And the machine will work for all kinds of stuff. You don't have to just put the same bad feeling in it. Now you can put any old bad feeling in it. It'll wind it backwards and come out with something good. Just a thought. Keep it in mind for the rest of your life. I'll see you guys after lunch.